I know.
Pretend sleepers. This is going to be, people are going to, like, you won't believe who I have making the playoffs. The Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, okay, buddy. Yeah, we get it. Like, guys, no one's going to have this take. But this is the year that someone dethrones Patrick Mahomes. Actually, everybody has that take, and they've had it for 3 or 4 years in a row now. So I'm not saying any of those teams can't or won't make the playoffs. I'm saying you don't get sleeper credit for that. It's like filling out 7 March Madness brackets and be like, I had that upset. You had all the upsets. Not a real sleeper.
Okay. Let's talk about this. We're here to talk about Denver Broncos. I've already made separate videos for a lot of these other teams. We're here to talk about the Broncos. First off, this is what I keep saying. People, I can be sympathetic to Chiefs fans. How many years people are like, oh, this team's going to knock them off. This team's going to knock them off. Like, especially in the division. And I get it. I wasn't really part of those conversations. I wasn't in the comment section. I wasn't making videos, etc., etc. So I don't really care about what happened before. I mean, I real talk, I really don't. And especially when talking about the Denver Broncos, I don't care what the conversations were before it was Sean Payton and Bo Nix. I don't care. I certainly last year weren't saying that the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton and Bo Nix and that defense was going to dethrone the Chiefs. I didn't have that take. I said I thought the Broncos were going to be great and we're going to have a ton of success, and that Bo Nix was going to have a ton of success, and that Sean Payton and Bo Nix were going to be a great coach-quarterback combination. That ended up being correct. They ended up making the playoffs, so that was pretty accurate. I laughed at the win-loss total that was given to them. I made a video and was just like, what is this? This is insanity. And now, after all this, and we'll look at it so you can see all the teams in all of their glory. Of course, we know the Chiefs are at the top. Right? We got all these teams ahead of them. And yeah. It's a lot of teams ahead of them. I really think I always try. Sometimes I like to really get lost in the weeds, right? I really do. I think it's fun. It's interesting. I like to unpack every possible argument we can come up with, think of all the stuff. And then other times I like to just really reduce it to the simplest way possible. Like, if we could just boil this down. And sometimes even that can change week to week, month to month, especially if you're talking about off-season takes versus regular season, whatever it may be. And I really think I may have shared this before. I can't remember. This offseason has been kind of a blur with the content, I'll be honest with you. But I really think it gets boiled down to is, if Bo Nix is as great of a quarterback as I think he is and will be, and continues that trajectory at year 2, there's no like true hiccups, right? True kind of like, oh man, he is going through a slump right now, or what is going on. Sean Payton needs to figure something out. Bo Nix is just not seeing the field well, whatever it is, one of those kind of stereotypical type of stretches. Then this Broncos team will be awesome. If Bo Nix can truly stake his claim, if he can have a year like we've seen, I'm trying to think of like really practical takes here. It's hard because some of the examples that I could use are rookie quarterbacks. Like the for whatever reason, the first one that comes to my mind is C.J. Stroud, or the 10-game stretch for Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers when he was a first-year starter. Carson Wentz actually I think that was his second year when he was an MVP candidate and then got injured. The Nick Foles one, I think that was year 2 for him. And the reality is that I actually see, I don't know if I've voiced this before, because I actually think Carson Wentz is actually a pretty good quarterback. I think he was a victim of circumstance and all that stuff. But when I see Bo Nix, I see some Carson Wentz and I see some Josh Allen. And it's just kind of interesting, man. I don't know. There's a real chance that Bo Nix can ball in year 2. A real chance. And if he does, then I think this team can be in a position to be like we can always say, oh, if your quarterback's great, then you can be a great team, right? That for the most part, that can be true. But when you look at the coaching staff, when you look at the defense that they've built, when you look at the O-line, and the defensive, and their ability, what they should have the ability to get to the quarterback of the opposing team and whatnot, and what it should ideally be a significantly better run game than what they had, at least a semblance of a run game relative to what they had last year. If you plug in a legitimately great quarterback, like if Bo Nix actually just plays as, again, I'm trying to think like as practically as possible. Like this is not a prediction, but like just as practically as possible. Like an absolute bona fide top 5 to top, like, I don't even want to say top 5 because then definitely like that's a given. Like if he's truly in the top 5, but from like 5 to 8 or something. If people are having real conversations where they're like, man, I think Bo Nix is the 5th best quarterback, 6th, 7th, 8th. And let's just reduce it to this season. Not because then you always have to play into the whole factor of like, well, we've seen Jaden do it for 2 years. And we've seen Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl. Like, not that game. When we're just watching, we're like, this guy right now is playing as the 5th, 6th, or 7th, or 8th best quarterback in the NFL. And it's really obvious. It's very clear. And we're just talking about this season. I mean, if he does that, then the Denver Broncos are going to be a top 4 team in the NFL. If he elevates that high. If it's that high. Because I just think that this team, and again, I'm factoring in the coaching staff as well. If you have pure competence and high level of consistent quarterback play, I just think the Denver Broncos will really be set up to win a lot of games. And again, be like a legitimate top team and not just kind of the lip service of like, yeah, no, they're a great team. No, they're good. Yeah, no. They're one of the top, playoff teams. Like, I mean, like, truly. But again, that will get boiled down to Bo Nix. I do not think, if you get kind of a continuation of what Bo Nix was last year and not a true elevation, I still think this team will win a lot of games. I think they can be a great team, but it will be one of those things where they're like, yeah, they're a tricky team to play. You kind of never know what to expect. They're a good team. Yeah, on any given day, they can give the Chiefs a run for their money. They can even beat them, maybe split, etc., etc. But, the door is pretty open for them to get rocked by the Ravens, and a tough game on the road and with short rest against the Chargers. Like, yeah, they just don't got enough. And even a wild game against the Bengals, they still can't quite come out on top. But if there is that truly next step for Bo Nix, and he has himself a year 2 like we saw with Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz. I'm trying to think of another. Those are 2 Philly quarterbacks because they both had ball in year 2s and led their team essentially to the Super Bowl. More Jalen Hurts than Carson Wentz got the opportunity to, but trying to think. Like, I can see it. I can see it, and the beauty is I feel like outside of Mahomes, and I guess Jordan Love, and I'm probably missing a couple other quarterbacks right now, you actually really like Bo Nix has the massive benefit of actually having the continuity with his offensive coach, but a true experienced high level. I mean, I believe in Matt LaFleur, but Matt LaFleur is still very young in his coaching career. Okay. So I believe that Sean Payton's continuity year to year, at least at this time, I'm going to have more faith in that than, say, a Matt LaFleur. So that's also where I believe like this step forward can be so much more profound, because you have the offensive coach, you have that continuity. They've had to have been in constant conversation. Bo Nix has not had to go through the process of now introducing himself to a new coach and having to figure it. Like, they get to just build off of the momentum in ways that you just normally can only do, not only with obviously an offensive coach, but to this, it's another level and layer when you have someone as experienced as Sean Payton. Like, that matters so much. And it's kind of crazy because people didn't believe when Sean Payton said, or when it was reported that Sean Payton really believes in Bo Nix and believes that Bo Nix is great and that is their guy, that he's having like real feelings about Bo, similar to that of Mahomes. And everyone laughed at that and this and that. And I get it, obviously you're never going to hear whispers of like, well, reportedly Sean Payton hates Bo Nix and didn't want to draft him. Like, you typically aren't hearing that type of stuff, especially post-draft. Maybe years later, after if things go poorly, then it's like, well, it came out that actually so-and-so really didn't want him, but he was forced by the owner. But like, you know, and it's just like, if that is true, and I believe it is based on the actual reporting that I have, and I always try my best to try to figure out what's true and what's not when you hear some of those reports, because it can be more difficult to decipher. And it's like, if there actually really is that truth to that, and again, Sean Payton brings that into fruition, it's just like, how is this team then not an awesome team? What's holding them back? And right now, we are probably living in the peak O-line. Like, it was before it was defense, then it was run game, then it was the passing game, and because of the passing game, it became the wide receivers, and now it feels like this next level is O-line, and we're kind of also going back to kind of now defense and run game. But it just seems like everyone is so hyper-focused on, like, you got to have an O-line, got to have an O-line, got to have an O-line. Right? Harbaugh is like, fixing the O-line. Ben Johnson goes to the Bears, fixing the O-line. Philadelphia Eagles are dominant, O-line. Detroit Lions, O-line. Buffalo Bills, O-line. What was the problem with the Kansas City Chiefs? O-line. And so now we're like, O-line. And the Broncos have an amazing O-line. So if they can get that run game going, Bo Nix grows and evolves as a quarterback, that defense continues to be as great as it was last year, if not even better, then you can really attack the field in the air. I mean, Bo Nix was top 4 in touchdowns in his final 11 games that he played. That's a real sample size. We did that whole song and dance for other quarterbacks, and I give rookies, a pass in the beginning of the season. I just do. 2,673 yards, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, that's what Jared Goff was doing. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. I mean, that's the real deal. That's legit. A 105 passer rating. And still dealing with a lot of drops. Outside of Joe Burrow, the quarterbacks that are ahead of them, 13 drops. Jared Goff only had 4 drops. Lamar Jackson, 11. Bo Nix was dealing with 19. He had the most with Joe Burrow in the top 5 for touchdowns. I mean, that's a fair amount. You're almost averaging 2 drops a game. It's pretty good, considering when everyone was freaking out in 2023 about all the drops. There was 29 drops. So this was at a higher rate for an 11-game stretch. That has to mean something. So yeah. People are sleeping on how good this Broncos team and how good Bo Nix is. I believe they are. So this whole not sleeper or pretend sleepers, right? If you're just saying, I think the Broncos are going to be in the playoffs or something, it's like, all right, that's lukewarm. But if you're out here saying, no, this team could be something, and if you don't believe that could be the case, then you, my friend, are not sleeping. You're in a coma. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos reclaiming their spot at the throne of football royalty? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.